All right, what's up, guys? Sorry for the delay there. That is my fault. There's something up with YouTube today. It's probably on my end, but none of the I uploaded like 3 copies of this. None of them would upload, but it wasn't a censorship thing either. It was a processing issue. Like they would just be in like an infinite process cycle, and it's an only like a 2-minute video. It's nothing, crazy. But I've been working on this serial killer related documentary for I don't even know, like over the course of a year, off and on, with different success to varying degrees in big spurts of time, right? So, in other words, it's been a prolonged process. It's essentially a collection of Maury Terry's works, The Ultimate Evil, as well as Dave McGowan's Program to Kill, as well as my own independent research. And we're also going to view it not only through a serial killers, that is, through their lenses, but also my own through some of the work I've done in that period of time, right? Since even before then, because I've been interested in them for a while. So what I wanted to do is just to let you guys know that this is still in the works, still picking away at it every day. You know what I mean? We're working on it. I don't have a date for you yet. I don't even have a name for you yet, but it's looking good. I'm really excited for it, guys. We're going to hopefully blow the shit wide open. So I'm going to show you the trailer now, right? It's about 2-3 minutes, something like that. I wanted to cut something up and put it out there for you guys just to give you an idea of what the trailer is, where it's going, what it's about, so on and so forth. So please, if you want to stay updated on this, want to know when it comes out, when I'm going to be premiering it live, go to the Cointree link in the description. I'll see if I can drop it in the live chat. It's a collection of all my links. Just realized it says, it's a crypto donation platform. Just ignore that. Nope, it's just all my links. Okay. That way, on Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth, I usually post the links when I go live. So let's go ahead and just roll this, get the show on the road, and then maybe we'll hang out for a little bit after that. I'll eventually put up a clean, separate copy of this, but I just didn't want to hold out any longer. So enjoy, guys. Thanks. Levels check.
This song reached the top of the charts that summer of '67, and nearly 100,000 young people responded to it by going to San Francisco. What's more, the nation's news media sent their correspondents to report what was happening in Haight-Ashbury.
Sorry about that.
The Council for a Summer of Love proclaims a...
Apologies.
This song reached the top of the charts that summer of '67, and nearly 100,000 young people responded to it by going to San Francisco. What's more, the nation's news media sent their correspondents to report what was happening in Haight-Ashbury.
The Council for a Summer of Love proclaims a summer of love in the city of San Francisco. We believe that Haight-Ashbury is the focus of a universal spiritual awakening. The Summer of Love is an expression of this awakening. We call upon the world to help us celebrate the infinite holiness of life.
What is she specifically charged with for this procession?
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out right now. What, if anything,
We
she's
don't
charged
know.
with? We don't know.
Well, do you feel confident that she may be exonerated by any
Absolutely.
charges against her in the state
Absolutely.
case?
No problem.
You don't
Absolutely.
feel she had any role in the murders?
The police have
No, sir.
identified her as one of the prime suspects.
She's a suspect. She's only accused right
The
now.
police weren't there.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
people might be doing crimes like you were doing?
It was far more than 35. It isn't that impossible in this society.
Are there more people?
They didn't give up.
How many?
She didn't give up. I did. I came in out of the cold. And what I'm saying is there are some people who prefer it in the cold.
Yep, that's about right. That's about right. All right, so I'll keep you guys posted as to when that'll come out. Like I said, I just had to cut something up for you. I was doing it anyway. At the time, I said, let me just post something up. Because up until now, I've just been posting like kind of nonsense 10-second snippets here and there if you follow me on Instagram. If you don't, and you have an Instagram, definitely go ahead and do so. I mean, there's a bunch of custom stuff on the social media, which is why you want to stay abreast of my links. Sometimes just for fun on Instagram, I'll throw up like a, I don't know, 2-minute clip of variation that, I'm not, I make too many of them. I lose track, forget to upload them on YouTube and stuff. So follow me there. And I'll keep you guys updated. But yeah, it's coming along good. We're looking at a combination of the book Program to Kill over there, Maury Terry's Ultimate Evil, which, by the way, the Sons of Sam documentary, a good prepper to this documentary would be the Sons of Sam documentary. I believe it or not, Netflix, actually. That's right. I mean, it's we should be thankful that Netflix even did a documentary like the one about Maury Terry, Sons of Sam. It was actually quite brilliant. Now, it's not free of critique, of course, but it's the closest that we're going to get to a documentary like the one you're about to see. Here's the thing about that, though. Your boy likes to snip in, do a little snipping on the videos, but I'm not going to say I'm a Steven Spielberg's or nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only issue. I can get you the information that'll make you lose your mind about serial killers that are even more entertaining than the true crime shit that you'll see anywhere, right? This is just, I don't know, more entertaining and more informative. You can't get any better than that, really. And what I'm saying is the Sons of Sam Netflix documentary from last summer is about as close to this type of subject matter, because that documentary covers the same book that I'm covering in this one, The Ultimate Evil by Maury Terry, who basically was the pioneer of this alternative serial killer research back when the bad boy below me, David Berkowitz, Son of Sam, you might recall him, was allegedly going around New York City shooting and killing, young men, young women, for no reason, just no motives other than pure insanity. Insanity, it's a mental thing. There's got to be some defect. He just picked up a gun one day and just went around killing. Just a normal thing that most people do, right? Just kidding. And it's like you can demonstrate another point of this documentary, as well as the collected work of, definitely Maury Terry, but also definitely David McGowan. Demonstrate the point by asking a question, can you name any serial killers, right? Can you list them? And I'll give you 10 seconds, right? And you'd come up with your Dahmers, who's over there on the thumbnail, and the guy below him, John Wayne Gacy, and Son of Sam below me, Zodiac right there in the center, all these names. And then when I follow up with the second question, can you name any serial killers that have been active or caught in the past 20, 25 years? I'll give you a few seconds, and there's probably nothing there. There's a few, it's not like the phenomenon stopped, but it's certainly tapered off. It's nowhere near what it used to be. Now, it's going to be a mixture of the media coverage was so intense with these people. They're more like superstars, right? So you can envision back in the day in the 60s, 70s, whatever. Uh-oh, my computer crashed. Nope, we're still here. 60s, 70s, whatever. This was a big deal. So the media was they've never seen such unprecedented violence, right? The gore, it sells, right? That's the unfortunate part of media. So they flocked and made these guys into superstars, ultimately ending up being infamous names in our cultural lexicon for years to come, just due to this never-ending morbid curiosity and like the overarching question of why. And also, how does somebody become so evil such as to do that? And while people like Maury Terry with the alternatives get universally ridiculed, right? Really, we're all just asking the same question: why does somebody perpetrate such evil, and how did they become so evil? We've got the same questions in mind. We just perhaps differ on exactly what the answer or the right way to the right answer is on that. In the case of Maury Terry, he was convinced that behind the lone gunman story of David Berkowitz, the son of Sam Slangs, remember the story goes that he went around New York City just shooting people with a, what was it, 44? I don't have my notes in front of me. Because that's what they called him at first, 44, Magnum Killer, I think. You know, what was I saying there? I was just ranting about, oh yeah, a satanic cult behind David Berkowitz, right? Maury Terry was investigating the story about David Berkowitz being involved in a satanic cult, perhaps related to something called the Process Church, right? And we see, indeed, that essentially Maury Terry was instrumental in the Son of Sam case being reopened. That's right. Like, after this type of evidence came out, along with the research of Maury Terry back in the day when Son of Sam was still out there, or I mean, rather, right after he was in prison, Maury Terry was the only person that really talked to, or the first person at least, that talked to David Berkowitz in any real big caliber, in my opinion, that yielded good information. And David Berkowitz said that he wasn't the trigger man in all of the shootings. He killed people, right? And he admitted that, but he also admitted to Maury Terry that there were others involved. Some served as lookouts. There was, I don't think they mentioned it in the Netflix show, but in The Ultimate Evil, there's the mention of someone recording the attacks, the shootings. So we enter the redacted film field there, territory. No, that's too vague. Just spell it out. S-N-U-F-F. Tapes, killing tapes. Oh, that's a good euphemism for something absolutely abhorrent. Killing tapes. Maybe that'll get me less censored. Now, your average person isn't buying killing tapes, right? They're not cheap. $10,000 per killing tape. So what you're talking about is the snuffing out of a human life while being recorded. And then you sell that recording to whomever for their collection. And it's a lot of money. Your average pleb like me ain't buying it. You're not buying it. You don't even know where to get it. I don't know where to get it either. Some say to this day that they don't exist. But they definitely do. It's almost like, why would you think they don't exist? We record fucking everything from our face nonstop every day to a fucking plate of food, to a weird bug. What's that weird bug? What's that weird bug? Let's record it. But no, not that. Nope. Not that. That's just, wouldn't record something like that. A sicko with a knife? No way. Cool it, pal. You could getting gross on me. Come on. Point is we see multiple references over multiple serial killer cases of the involvement, to some degree, of the killing tapes, people involved in the killing tapes. In the case of Maury Terry interviewing Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, where he for the first time admits to not being a lone gunman after all, and actually part of a cult, satanic cult, whose goal, by the way, was to spread terror so nobody felt safe through New York City. Well, interesting goal, because you're going to see that repeated. The Zodiac did that, and if you read his letters, he tried to psyop the city of San Francisco into wearing fucking buttons. Now, could be a code, right? Because the whole shit is code. That's the whole point of Zodiac, right? These ciphers that, some say, I don't know if they claim they cracked them all to this day. I don't know if all of them are cracked. God knows how many are fucking classified, because there are apparently alternative versions of these Zodiac writings still in the possession that we haven't seen. Another example of them kind of omitting key details is when the Zodiac mailed in the letter threatening to blow up a school bus or something like that. Yeah, it was shoot up a school bus or blow up there was multiple bomb references. Zodiac even, or if there is such thing as a Zodiac, as opposed to just a medley of very clever pedophiles and drug traffickers making up a moniker, an aura of some boogeyman because they know it'll cover for their murders, their rapes, their homicides, right? Just blame it on the Zodiac, learn how to write letters like them. You see it on the news, shit, let me copy that. I wanted to kill that girl that's been pissing me off next door. I'll just wear a fucking military-style boot print to the scene, take care of her. This is from the perspective of a really evil serial killer. You get what I'm saying? That's the idea of the Zodiac, right? It's like, how many are really his victims? I mean, there's definitely multiple, but the details get far more confusing than you could ever imagine. All of these serial killers cases you think are so set in stone, and don't get me wrong, many of them are, but they're not as solid as you might imagine. If you look into the case evidence on like exactly what they were convicted of, all of them are evil men, without a doubt. What I'm saying is they could have crimes and murders attributed to them, falsely attributed to them, one body tacked on to the rest of them because he had to have done it, right? He lives within a 50-mile radius. It was probably Dahmer. Let's just, But the issue is then you never find the real killer of the ones that you misattributed to certain people. For instance, Henry Lee Lucas for a while was looked at as the country's worst serial killer, who said he killed how many people? 250, 500, 1,000? Massive amounts of people, right? Well, he ended up getting dubbed the name of the Confession Killer. And there's a Netflix documentary series on this, which, by the way, I actually haven't watched. I should probably watch it before I talk shit. But the thing with Henry Lee Lucas is he lied about all of them. Flat out, right? Now, he was a killer, though. It's universally agreed upon that he killed at least 3 people. I forget their name. Why is the name Frida Powell jumping out at me? Was that one of the names of the victims? And then some guy on a roof? I can't remember. It's fucked up, man. It's dark shit. Point is that people agree on 3 victims attributed to him. Others say that I believe as high as 11? No. I don't know. It's 3 or 8. No, yeah, that's it. Like between 3 and 8, right? So it's a mixture. Henry said, no, I killed hundreds. And once again, flying in the face of the general serial killer profile developed by the FBI, which, by the way, had to invent a brand new field of like criminal behavioral psychology just to understand this suddenly random emergence of serial killers. Remember, you couldn't name anything in the last 25 years, right? Even though Long Island serial killer would be an example, Israel Keys. There's actually just saw some in the news a couple days ago where they just arrested that one guy from Stockton, the Stockton serial killer, right? They just arrested him. So, like I said, the phenomenon is still with us. It's just it came out of nowhere in the late 1960s. Even like throughout the 60s, there was like this increase and then a spike. And then a rapid, I don't want to say rapid, but kind of a in-between rapid and gradual tapering off until the early 90s. So the documentary I created is primarily focusing on this rash of serial killings that had happened, in that time frame from the 1960s to essentially 1990. Of course, we will go a little bit past that and a little before that, right? So, in other words, Ed Gein might come up, for example, and he was earlier than the time frame I set forth, but it's very timeline specific, so you're going to have to get it into the mindset of trying to keep track of timelines, right? So I include lots of dates, why those dates are important, and, I try my best to keep my opinion out of it. I think I will do Dave McGowan and Maury Terry's work justice. I can't say, this is the issue. I was actually listening to a McGowan interview this morning, and he was talking about how he wished he got an editor for Program to Kill. Because I think he was asked on the interview, the guy asked him, like, what his process was for writing the book. Because it's got so much information. It's crazy. Program to Kill, it's wild shit. And he was like, well, to be honest, it was really just looking back on it, sort of like rambly, he said. And I was like, I can totally relate to that shit. I'm doing it right now. You know what I'm saying? But point is, it's like you got to get information out, however you got to do it. Not so much in this video where we're just having fun. But yeah, Dave McGowan, he was on that radio show and he just said, I really should have gotten an editor because there's information, there is no organization. And I noticed that because like he doesn't have like, even though his entire novel is predicated on the existence of a set of themes and patterns, hidden ones that become, that come up to the surface when we look at certain case files, evidence, so on and so forth. He didn't make like just one chapter where he bullets him out, 22 caliber theme, right? Occult or satanic interest, military experience. He kind of did, but he takes all these non-linear paths along the way where like the rest of the list will be like a chapter after that one. So to find all the notes and try and summarize his book, you have to go through the whole shit. I read it already, but not with the mindset of having to meticulously review not only the things he said, but also build on those things with my own independent insights and research. And something's changed too, right? Program to Kill was published in 2004. McGowan has unfortunately passed since then. I forget exactly when, 12, 13, something like that. So did Maury Terry, unfortunately too, so they're no longer with us, but I don't know. Actually, before I go any longer, I should probably just try and keep this short. Let me see who's in the chat if there's anyone. I don't expect many of you. What's up, guys? Hey, Wes. Yeah, quiet chat. That's okay. That's okay. Just a fuck around stream. I'll have to, like I said, I'll upload an independent version of the alternate version of the trailer without this part and without the long wait period. I don't know what the hell is going on with YouTube, man. Seriously, they're all stuck. Let me see. I can probably show you. What, you think I'm kidding? Let me show you my YouTube queue, dude. You think I'm lying, dude? Here. You calling me out for lying, dude? Look at this. I uploaded these. What time is it? 9:40? When did I tell you guys? Shit, man. I don't know. It's been an hour and a half at least. Look at this shit. 2-minute video, man. 2-minute video. And there's a whole line. Whole line of them. This one's public. See? Okay. This one says oh, it says checking still. So... And these aren't even at the checking part, by the way, right? I think the processing comes first, and then they do the checks. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It shouldn't take that long for a fucking 2-minute, 2.5-minute trailer to upload. You know, I got a lot of grievances, gotta admit. Gonna have to, guess I'm gonna have to get mad about it. All right. Hey, Sarah. Thanks for hanging. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really hope so. I hope so. Yes, yes. Hopefully we can use this bad boy. It comes out good enough, I mean. Hopefully we can use it to sort of assist in reviving me from the digital underworld, the dead. Yeah, it's actually alive, yep. Oh, you guys answer your question. I'm back in time. I'm in the past. I'm living in the past, dude. Living in the past. Hey, Indigo. Yeah, I found this. Here's a crazy story. I found a way to stream live on Instagram. It's the craziest shit. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to break some. Yeah, I'm gonna have to Fred Durst this. I'm gonna have to Fred Durst this and play a vital role in another crowd psychological operation Woodstock, whatever year that was, 98. Fred Durst got thrown into the back of a black SUV right before he was set to play at Woodstock 98 and told, here's a picture, a Polaroid. You recognize your daughter? Do you recognize that 22 Luger? Here's the thing. I need you to rile that crowd up. And we're going to measure how quickly they rile up for science. And yes, yeah, he did do it all for the nookie. Because if he didn't, his kid would have gotten the nookie. From some guy in a suit. Or some guy that usually wears a suit but was pretending to be a homeless man that day in one of the tent cities you bring your daughter past on her way to elementary school. He'll just pop out. That's what happens. But for real, for those of you that I'm making like light of this weird shit, but like that was an interesting thing. They made a Netflix show about that. It stood out to me right away as like some major shenanigans there. It just had like, even if it wasn't a psyop, and I'm not saying there is, I did some searching. Was it 98? I could be full of shit. What year was it? It was like right on the cusp of 2000 though, 99 maybe? I don't know, man. And had like Rage Against the Machine, Limp Bizkit. These were all hot at the time. Korn, right? It was actually really cool. Like I was too young at the time to go, right? Hang out with the big boys, but that's the shit I would have liked because I was listening to it at the time. But interestingly, they didn't show Rage Against the Machine, which the whole Netflix series is depicting an incident in which a collective group of individuals suddenly psychologically flicked on and decided to indeed rage against a machine and light shit on fire. But despite Rage Against the Machine being like a major act, you know, Korn played a major part in the documentary. Limp Bizkit, the way the documentary was formatted was they went band by band down the set, and each band would come on to interview about, yeah, you know, I noticed at that point the crowd started to get a little wild, started to get, you know, bottles thrown at me and stuff. I saw a girl that was naked and stuff. And the next one's a little bit worse, a little bit worse. Climax of the documentary, and then Korn came on stage. Literally, that's the build-up. The music, the suspense background music is growing, it's growing, it's growing. And then Korn got on the stage. Add Korn song, cue Korn song, go, 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 30 seconds, show the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And it just was perfect because they did everything they needed to, not to stop it, but to make it worse. Where they literally provided, like, combustible materials to a crowd that was on the borderline of a riot for an hour already. It was crazy shit, like decisions that I swear to God a normal average human being would never make as the coordinator of that event. I forget the guy's names. That shit was so shady. I mean, I don't know, man. Look, it took place on a military base, guys. Took place on a fucking military base. That's where the event coordinator said, we need the space, but I don't know. How about that abandoned military base? It's like, okay. So yeah, I mean, it was an abandoned military base, I should say. I don't want to give you guys the wrong impression, but I'm like, military check. Providing people essentially what would ultimately become weapons, where you'd have to be retarded not to know this at this point since they're already rioting. Check. Like, not purposefully avoiding people telling them to shut the show down. It's not looking good. Check. Like, just, how could you have missed that? Even with serial killers, you see that. Manson, even though he spent most of his, like, adult life behind bars in prison, he committed so many crimes as he was growing up. Mostly car theft. We see a lot of car theft with him and others and stuff. But each time, just a slap on the wrist. I mean, he was doing bad shit. And each time, a slap on the wrist. And yet, you see the same thing over and over throughout every serial killer where, for instance, Henry Lee Lucas, call him a liar, whatever you want, but he's also should be considered the most lucky man to have ever walked the face of the planet, because as he was in Texas prison, right, for the crimes that he may or may not have committed, he was awaiting death penalty, and he became the luckiest man because he became one of the only, or the first, prisoner to ever have the death penalty lifted for them, commuted. In other words, under Governor George Bush, in the death penalty capital of the country, where, you know, you're in the hands of someone, an entity, a state, that is well known for their willingness and enthusiasm to swiftly dish out lethal injection. And you're a serial killer, but I choose you to lift the death penalty for. Now, the reasoning is George Bush, or whomever, who was governor at the time, Daddy Bush, Big Daddy Bush, whoever pulls the strings for him makes the decisions, whatever. I guess they looked at the evidence that was increasingly growing that Henry Lee Lucas lied, falsely confessed. They were finding out. So he's sitting in prison, waiting to die, which doesn't happen right away, right? It's a long years sometimes or whatever. Then it starts to get known by some other people that, like, yo, there's a lot of corruption. The police are using Henry Lee Lucas essentially to close cold cases. Pesky cold cases that they just can't solve, that's been plaguing their precinct forever, their jurisdiction forever. We got to get our numbers of open homicide cases down. How else are we going to beat Sacramento PD this year if we don't get our fucking homicide right down, huh? And we'll develop ways. How about we use Henry Lee Lucas? He'll confess to anything. And that's what they did. They took Henry Lee Lucas on a nationwide fucking tour through, like, walking on the sides of interstate freeways into the open grassy fields of some shithole county in the U.S., down by riverbanks, swamps. Anybody they found, Henry said, yeah, I fucking killed that person. Yep, got him. hence the confession killer. So people, for, not a stupid reason, are they're not, it's not too ridiculous to doubt everything Henry says, right, in that case. But what you can't argue is the fact that he still remains, despite being a confirmed killer of at least 3 people, the only person that ever had the death penalty lifted in like a death penalty capital, let alone under fucking Bush, right? Once more, I'll play devil's advocate. Perhaps the whole Lucas saga was so hazy at that point that they're like, hit the brakes on everything. Like, let's just, for instance, even though we know now that he at least, the mainstream belief, the universal mainstream belief is he at least killed 3 people. Well, perhaps since evidence started emerging back then that he's lying about a lot and confessing to a lot, they're like, hold on, cut it, don't kill this fucking weirdo. Let's just figure out like who he killed, who he didn't kill. Then we'll put the needle in this fucking loser. And perhaps, but again, that's a huge assumption. All we have is not the intention of the pardon or whatever, the commuted sentence. We don't have the intention behind Bush. All we have is the fact that it happened. So you can say whatever you think it is, whatever you believe it is, and you might even be confident about, thinking it's the only answer, whatever it might be. You have to admit that you just don't know, right? I do imagine they have statements out there. If it was what I think it is, if, when the decision came down to commute his death penalty, like maybe the news media actually expanded on that, right? I just don't recall right off the bat because it's such a small detail. That's curious, of course. But like, when you think about it, it's not too incredible. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter because there's so much other weird shit about all of these serial killers that you think that you thought you knew, right? That you thought you knew. Now, and here's the way I look at it is I don't want to put forth my own personal belief. Of course, I'll drop it in there here and there so long as I overtly state that it's mine. My main objective is not to share my opinion, but rather the research collected by Maury Terry and Dave McGowan, as well as the work done by Tom Philpott on the side of the predator, underage predator stuff. And then when, something is my own opinion or belief or whatever, I'll be sure to. I just don't want to taint their work. You get what I'm saying? Muddy their work. So, we'll see. Very interesting, man. I guess in the end, the point is I'm not trying to come up with a full answer. I'm trying to convince people that they should be more open to these ideas because the threats are going to keep coming at us if we can't get a grip on where these fuckers come from. If we don't fully understand the true nature of them, right? If the FBI profile is indeed, at the least, incomplete, right? Not representing a wide enough net to explain accurately the nature of these creeps, or just straight up fucking wrong. And at the very worst, constructed nefariously for the sole purpose of making them into something they're not, right? And think about it. We're not talking about all of them being mind-controlled killers, patsies or whatever, okay? Like, yeah, that's mentioned, that's an element, right? But again, we're not saying one thing. In the end, my documentary, Maury Terry and Dave McGowan, the whole point only was to show that the FBI profile is not nearly as accurate or comprehensive as it is led on, despite the illusion that you'd think it would be, given the fact that every Lifetime documentary, history documentary, Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, Discovery, every stream, it's all through the lens of that FBI behavioral criminal profile framework. Assuming its accuracy, no need to view any other evidence that exists, no need to touch any disputed evidence. Don't even touch the evidence that really high-profile professional investigators on these cases are still arguing about to this day. For whatever reason, they're fine with, this is my 10th Dahmer documentary. Let's see if, nope, it's all the same. It's all him, playing with blood, gay black guy. Okay, got it. Why don't you just look at the other shit that Maury Terry, and Dave McGowan gave their life to try and expose, right? You don't have to agree with it. So yeah, they're not trying to say for certain that these are all mind-controlled patsies. Or that all of them were in a satanic cult. Or it's no single thing. It's a collection of things. It's not all of them were actually drug hits or covers for drug trafficking crimes, right? More organized crime essentially making it look like a serial killer is on the loose in order to cover for their more seedy criminal enterprise activities that a homicide would expose, right, to law enforcement. That's all we're asking. And I think it's important because now we don't have serial killers. We have Israel Keys here, you know, forget the years he worked, but Israel Keys, fucking Stockton, which I haven't looked into him, so I can't give you details. Long Island serial, there's a good amount, just you don't hear about them. And they all came out of nowhere at the same time, around the same time, and then disappeared into nothingness gradually around the same time. And then we got school shooters, people that, like serial killers, mysteriously step outside of the bounds of normal everyday life and polite society, decide to grab a weapon, but this time targeting a single specific target, right? Schools. Which is interesting because I don't know if you would call that a modus operandi because they're mass murderers and not serial killers, so technically it's not an MO, right? Because it's not like they're killing anyone else. It's really just a whole name for themselves because of how specific the targeting is, school shooters. So, you know, my friend brought up the question. He's like, you know, it's interesting because I was telling him about the timing and how they, you know, think about how many there are now versus back then. They all came out of nowhere at the same time. And he's like, you know, it's interesting since it kind of faded away and came about together. Then we got school shootings right after. He's like, I just wonder if it's going to be a byproduct of like a sick society from here on out, a pressure valve, a release, the waste, the sewage, the runoff, so to speak, of that minority group of people that just can't adjust and end up lashing out. Serial killers being an example, perhaps helped along by military intelligence, some brain shenanigans, fuckery, LSD dosing, whoops, slip some LSD in your drink type of stuff, you know, but nonetheless, maybe it just changes over time based on what's the trends, the culture, has everything to do with the era. I don't know. I hope that makes sense. I didn't really set out to make too much sense today. I just thought I'd be streaming a 2-minute trailer, but here I am like almost an hour later. I thought that was an interesting thought. Where it's like there's always the killers out there. There's always going to be hunters, people that just like to kill. It's a fact. But perhaps all the scattered killers of the world will always flock to like a certain category or type or general, end up sharing the same collective few traits every time. Serial killers have themes and patterns across each of their cases, and same thing with school shooters, where you might see that serial killers had some type of brain damage when they were young or whatever, some type of trauma when they were young. School shooters are typically on psychotic drugs, essentially, SSRIs, right? You see this, so essentially you can apply the same framework from not the profile, just the same, you're looking to their lives and it's consistently patterned across the different school shooters, just like you look into the lives of these guys and there's parts of them that are consistently patterned across each case. And it's like, you know, Dahmer fits like a more standard category that fits the profile, right? You're a fucking weirdo loner, white, average intelligent, probably below average intelligent. I don't even know with Dahmer, but you know, just a number of things. That's he collects bones and bodies and pieces. He's a collector, keeps trophies. When you think serial, you just think that's the shit you think of when you hear the word serial killer. But you know, there's just a lot more that really don't even deserve the title of serial killer. They just might straight up be organized crime activity. For instance, cartel activity. When you think of them, you think of beheadings, all this crazy shit, but we don't think of them as serial killers. They're different in our mind, even though they're still out there now, currently, on killing sprees. It's just that because they're part of a drug trafficking network, that they're not serial killers. It's like, if you toggle that way of thinking and see that actually, you know, narcos, organized crime could very much benefit, and there's no barrier between them from a serial killer, right? Why wouldn't those things be connected? Why wouldn't the organized underage predator rings of the 60s, 70s, 80s, John D. Norman, for instance, Francis Sheldon, they're both fucked. I don't know, man. It's the perfect overlap because then you get the snuff film market. Well, what do the underage predators like to engage in most? The filming of their personal prawn collections. So it's really, let's not to mention here, Dahmer. Let's think about it. Dahmer, arrested for assaulting sexually an underage boy. Let's think about Gacy. Where's the pattern here? He did the same thing, right? So right there, we see elements of that sexual, criminal, deviant proclivity between two, let alone the rest of them, that we also end up seeing some crazy shit. I mean, Richard Ramirez was essentially taught how to rape and kill right before he would end up going out and doing exactly that. And I don't mean like just training, like some bullshit training. I'm not using training in a dubious way either. Like, oh, okay, like who taught you? Your gym teacher? Because it's not really training. It's like, who told you? Your little brother? Actually, it was a family member. That was his mentor growing up, who was he served in Vietnam. So there's the military experience theme. Check. We see across. Dahmer was in the military. David Berkowitz was in the military. Don't know about John Wayne Gacy. I kind of forget. And Richard Ramirez wasn't, because it doesn't matter, because he was mentored by someone that was and was trained to kill before going to Vietnam and then doing exactly that, but efficiently, swiftly, all while enjoying it. Because he kept a collection of, what did he keep a collection of? Photographs. Remember, David Berkowitz below me. He said there were others that were serving as lookout, and one of them apparently videotaped the shooting take place because of the S blank, and UFF films. Once again, there's that theme checked too, right there. Well, his mentor, family member, was also a Phoenix program assassin. Phoenix program was basically an operation of terror in Vietnam as the war was at its peak. And it was a mixture between like military, DARPA, CIA, various outfits, at least 7 or 8 that we know of. I just don't have them all memorized. And it was essentially to scare the fuck out of the Viet Cong and destabilize society in Vietnam as a whole to minimize, this is the official line essentially, to minimize the potential for any further Viet Cong from emerging, basically. So it was asymmetrical warfare by barbarism, by using savages, straight up savages. Guys, we weren't talking about like just your normal US soldiers doing the same thing they always do, atrocities. This was different. We're talking about soldiers eating people's hearts, brains, keeping their heads, putting their heads on stakes, right? Walking into the homes of like different villagers and just wiping entire little areas out, like homes. Valentine, who wrote a book on Phoenix program, told of a story where they'd grab a guy from the village covertly. There were boogeymen, jungle predators. You'd go into the woods and you'd get snatched as if you were getting fucking attacked by a mountain lion. And just, hey, that happens sometimes. We live in the jungle after all. Except these boogeymen were human beings sent by the United States Armed Forces specifically to like rape daughters in front of their parents before just taking them all out. That's precisely what the Phoenix program was. And then what happened was, here's the thing, tens of thousands of people were operating like within the Phoenix program. Overall, they neutralized 80,000 targets, 80,000. Neutralized means either subdued, captured, arrested, killed, and then whatever else, right? Stopped. Okay, so number one, we have to assume that everyone neutralized was actually guilty of whatever we said they were doing. But even then, it doesn't matter because we killed 20,000 at least in an organized killing campaign where we sent our boys overseas to abduct, rape, and kill men, women, and children for free. You get hall pass for all savages. And here's the thing, you can't just take your normal guy, recruit him, he signs up with his mom at the army. Oh, hey, come back in a month. You're not 18 yet. Your birthday is soon, though. Come back after that. You want to sign up for Phoenix? Let me not bring you aboard and expect you to eat people's hearts as an 18-year-old man that just joined the army like not long ago. I mean, obviously, there's other distinctions within Phoenix. It's not just that. It's just that was a large part of it. That's a large part of terrorizing, is killing. Okay. No, you had to bring these people in, people that had a certain predilection towards it, they gravitated towards it more. People that have been in prison, violent felonies. That's why, like, Henry Lee Lucas, when he came out of prison, he said that it changed him, but it changed the way he went about killing. He said that before prison, like, I would just kill just because, I don't know, like, he just did it. Whenever he felt like it, the urge swung over him. But when it was only after he went to prison and then came out of prison, all those years, he came out, and he said, when I came out of prison, my killing took on the air of, like, cold-blooded, calculated murder with the sole objective of killing as many people as possible. So something changed between his killing every once in a while for recreation and thrills or whatever it was, impulsive, to in prison. Whatever happened there ended up with him leaving as a calculated professional killer, essentially, that just wanted to kill for no reason at that point, as, you know, is what he said. But he's a complicated character. There's, you know, also part of a satanic cult, claimed he was part of a satanic cult, Hand of Death. It's a whole thing, guys. And, you know, the best I can do, there's no way I can get all the details, the info from all of those books, Ultimate Evil and Program to Kill, just those two alone, into this video. But I think I'm going to do my best. Well, I'm definitely doing my best, but I think I'm so far able to have nailed, like, the most crucial elements, the most mind-blowing elements, details, info, connections, so on. There's going to be some that I miss. The objective now is just to avoid missing anything that, like, is a game changer. You know what I mean? So we'll see, but hope you guys enjoyed the trailer. I'll put up a separate copy with the trailer, standalone, whenever YouTube decides to work. All the information in the description, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by. Try and get some videos up soon. I still got to put the 9/11 one up. Forgot about that.